explored Europe for an entire month, and these are the books that I ended up reading while I was there. So I read 2 physical books and then 2 books on my Kobo. So let's talk about all of them. In no particular order, we're going to start with Throne of Secrets by Kerri Maniscalco. And this was a book that I was really excited for, but it actually did not meet my expectations and I was disappointed by it, unfortunately. The story follows Prince Gluttony and Adriana St. Clair, who is a journalist. And this is the second book in the Princes of Sin, Kerri's adult fantasy series. I love the first one so much. The spice, the one bed, the fae, the tension, everything about it, amazing, incredible, out of this world. For me, what I didn't really like about this one is that it was trying to do way too much instead of just sticking to a couple of ideas instead of like a million. So Adriana St. Clair and Prince Gluttony have some bad blood between each other. They are rivals. She's constantly like bashing him in her papers that she writes as a journalist, and he's kind of known as like the Prince of Rakes. And so some stuff happens, and he has basically created this kind of deal with these ice dragons that they will not attack his people, but because of this curse that's happening to all of the princes of sin, he ends up seeing like his dragons start attacking people, and he's trying to like keep it out of the media and figure out what is happening. And so Adriana, one of her informants, kind of tells her that there's something not right with the ice dragons. So she's starting her investigation into the ice dragons. And then there's also this other side story that honestly is my favorite part of this book. And that was where she goes into this kind of like bar, and when you go in there, it completely glamours you, it changes your voice. And so you can indulge in any sin that you would like without people ever knowing who you are. And so it's really cool because she ends up looking like somebody else, and then Gluttony happens to be there as well, and they are rivals, but they don't know who each other are, and so they're slowly starting to fall for each other. And that is the part of the story I really liked. But there was a lot happening in the story, because there was that happening, there was the ice dragon thing happening, there was also like Gluttony trying to find a wife story that was happening, and just like a bunch of things happening at the same time that I was losing track of like what was going on. And I would have liked it better if it just followed like one kind of story, because I was just getting overwhelmed reading this book. But the writing was still really good, the characters were still really good, but for me it was just really overwhelming, and I was really stressed out reading and trying to remember like what was going on in the book. So yeah, definitely the weaker in the series. And I think that Prince Gluttony's character wasn't as strong as he could have been. Like, I think out of all the characters, it was only Adriana who I really liked as a character. She had really good personality, really good weaknesses, but every other character was very basic. And I was like, So yeah, I think I ended up giving this like a 3 out of 5 stars. Yeah, I was disappointed. It tried to do too much, but I am still gonna read the next book because I think this just had second book syndrome, to be honest. Next up, what I read on the Kobo on release day is Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett. This is the 3rd and final book in the Emily Wilde series, and I absolutely love this series. I have been waiting over a year for this one. I waited then over a year for the second one. Like, I love this series. It's really cool because it follows our main character, Emily, who is a scholar, and she just really wants to study fairies, and that's all she wants to do. And so in this 3rd book, I don't want to spoil if you haven't read the series, but it's really fun because she has this academic rival, Wendell, who everybody loves, and he says the most ridiculous things, and he's absolutely adorable. And Emily's like, ugh, this guy is such a fake. Like, she's like, he doesn't understand what's actually happening here. But then like he'll know some stuff, and there's like a big mystery surrounding them, and he's always showing up where Emily is. And so this final book was honestly such a fun ride, where you get the conclusion and all of the pieces from book 1 and 2 all wrapped up in a finely knit bow. It was beautiful. There were some really cute, adorable little romance scenes between Emily and the love interest. It was so cute. I had such a good time reading that book. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. I didn't want to finish the book, and the only reason it wasn't a perfect read for me was because there was this scene a little bit towards the end, the final act of the book, where Emily ends up kind of going into this place called the Vale, and she has kind of like her own mission of what she is doing there. And I found it so rushed that I think that whole entire part could have been an entire book on its own. And so I was like, wait, what? Like, what? What's going on? Like, why did we just speed run that? So that was the only part of the book I didn't really like. I was so worried about the dog the entire time reading this book. If you know, you know. But it's so magical, and I'm just like really sad the series is over. I didn't know that this was the final book either. So I was reading it and I'm like, oh no, it's starting to seem like it's finishing up, and then it finished up and there was no note at the end saying like, Emily and Wendell's adventures are going to continue in the next book. That didn't happen because the series is over and I'm just heartbroken over it. So yeah, really great trilogy. I really, really loved it. It's really solid. It's so fun. It's woven with folklore and fairies, and you get all this history, and you get like a really cool like Nordic setting in a lot of these books, which I really like because as somebody who lives in North America, a lot of the books that are popular around me tend to take place in North America. But I love when books take place somewhere different, somewhere I've never heard of, or somewhere I'm not familiar with, because I feel like I'm kind of enhancing my knowledge and understanding the different cultures and stuff. So yeah, that's another thing I really love about the Emily Wilde series. There's also these really cool footnotes throughout the entire book where it feels like it's like an actual thing that's happening, that you're actually reading like an academic paper that had been written as a journal by this woman who just really, really loves fairies. Heather Fawcett, I love you. I love your writing. You're so clever. And thank you for writing such a wonderful series. Next up, we have Emily Henry's Book Lovers, which I didn't actually have the physical copy with me when I read it. I got it for $2 on the Kobo, so I ended up reading it because it was on sale, and yeah, I own the book. I just never got around to reading it, but I don't know. I didn't want to have to like buy 2 books, but I ended up buying 2 books. Anyways, I digress. I read Book Lovers by Emily Henry, and this book, I still think about this book, to be honest. The pining with Charlie and how much he wants to be with Nora, that's what I think about all the time. It was so well executed. Emily Henry is always a really, really great writer. Her characters are always so real. They're always so like complex. Like all of her stories seem very simple on the surface, but then when you actually read them, like beach read, it absolutely rips your heart in 100,000,000 pieces, and then it stamps on it, brings it back with necromancy just to kill it again. And that's what this book was like. This book was really fun. It followed 2 characters. There's Nora, and she's a literary agent. So her job is to basically represent authors and get their books to publishers and help them throughout that journey. And then we have our other main character, Charlie, and he is an editor. And so Nora and Charlie, the first time they meet, it's very, very like tense. Nora just got broken up with like 5 seconds before she meets with Charlie, and Charlie had some like personal issues going on with his dad when they first meet. So they're both kind of like snippety at each other, and then they never talk again until later. And so it follows along the success of Nora's client, Dusty, who had written this story that takes place in a place called Sunshine Falls. And Nora's sister, her younger sister, Libby, is really, really into the book. And so she wants to go to Sunshine Falls with her sister, spend some time there, and just like hang out, because Nora's really, really, really into her work. And because she's so into her work, it started to separate her and her sister. And so this is their kind of like trip to kind of get together, just have fun. And so when they're there, Nora starts to notice there's something a little bit weird about Libby. Like she's not answering her phone when like her husband calls. She's kind of avoiding certain questions and stuff. And so Nora's like, there's something more to this. And Nora has always been a fixer. Their mom died when Nora was like 20 or so, and so she is the legal guardian of her little sister, and so she's always been kind of like in that mom mode even before like their mom passed away, because she was a single mom. She really wanted to become an actress, and so Nora had basically become like a second parent, and that's like a really big theme throughout the entire book. And that's one of those things, it's like it's so good because you're watching her not realize all of the stresses and all of the trauma and all of the stuff that she is holding inside of her. She has not cried since her mom passed away. That's like 10 years. And so it's really, really, it's so cool, because you go from like being like, oh, her character's kind of rough around the edges, and then like as the story progresses, you actually fall in love with Nora, and well, at least I did, and it was so well done. And so what's really funny is that when they're in Sunshine Falls, Nora and her sister is trying to set her up on like these dates and stuff, and lo and behold, guess who happens to be in Sunshine Falls? It is her kind of like rival, her enemy, Charlie, the editor, and he's there because it turns out, woo, his family actually is from Sunshine Falls. And so they have a lot of moments where there's like some forced proximity because the only Wi-Fi happens to be in this like cafe kind of like bookstore that Charlie's mom happens to run. They're also renting an Airbnb from Charlie's mom. It's like a small town. So you're getting this small town romance with these two characters who kind of like don't like each other, but like Charlie has always been really, really into Nora, and it's so obvious the crush he has on her, and it's just so cute, and I love it. I love the pining. I love it. It's like, if you really love when a man is on his hands and knees and he's like, I just want to love you, but not in like a creepy, like weird way, but in like the romantic way, if that makes sense. The pining is just so good in this book. And then like the and just like the trauma bonding and the characters, and it was really, really good. I had a really fun time with this book. The more I think about this book, the more I like it. I think I also ended up giving this a 4.5 stars. It was a vibe. And last but certainly not least, the last book that I read while I was traveling the world was One Dark Window by Rachel Gillag, and this book was really, really good. I would say for me, this book, it's not as good on the romance department. The chemistry isn't really there. It feels a little bit fast for them to fall for each other so quickly. But what I really loved about this book was the setting. It was very gothic. It was very kind of like ominous. There were lots of riddles. There was the use of these magic cards called Providence cards. And of course, our main character has a literal monster called a nightmare living inside of her head, and it's slowly getting stronger. And so One Dark Window is following along the main character, Elspeth, and it's from her point of view, and she's the one who has this nightmare in her head. And basically what happened in this world is there is this mist that it infects people. It doesn't matter if you're a kid, it doesn't matter if you're an adult, doesn't matter. If you get this infection, you are going to end up having magic. And this is the kind of magic that is not allowed. The only magic that's allowed in this world are these things called Providence cards. And each Providence card, if you use it, gives you a different ability. So there's one where you can literally use it and completely control somebody, but all magic has a cost to it. So if you use this particular card, it speeds up your life, meaning that you're gonna die a lot earlier the more you use this card. There's also the Nightmare card, and the Nightmare card, if you use it, you can go into people's minds, you can talk to them that way, you can like kind of see their thoughts and stuff. But the downside of that is that you're gonna start to live your worst nightmares and kind of get haunted by that. And so there's 12 kind of main cards in this world that have different powers, and they say that when you collect all of them, you'll be able to eliminate the mist and get rid of this kind of magic that's happening. Because every single person, if they don't carry this kind of like, it's like lucky charm on them, they're gonna slowly go mad, and then they're gonna run into the mist, and the mist is going to take them, and they are going to die. And so our main character, Elspeth, she didn't know what her magic was. Nobody thought she had magic. She ended up basically getting hidden away after the fever was over. People are like, okay, you don't have magic, like you're probably safe. But she ends up touching her uncle's nightmare card and absorbs the nightmare, and that's how he ends up in her head. And so he can give her strength. If she asks for his like kind of help, he can make her stronger, he can make her faster, he helps her see all of the cards kind of as like special lights and stuff. So she's really, really useful, but it does of course come at a cost that she doesn't realize. And so she ends up teaming up with this guy named Raven, and Raven is like the captain of the guards, and he's looking for all of these Providence cards because his younger brother Emery is slowly losing his mind and he's decaying, and so he's trying to find these cards so he can save his brother. And so they end up kind of teaming up because she can see the Providence cards, and he thinks that her only ability is seeing these cards, but he doesn't know there's a nightmare inside of her. And so it's really interesting to kind of watch as they're kind of searching. You get a lot of really good lore about the Shepherdkin, who is the person who created these Providence cards, and all of the kind of backstory and stuff that goes with that. And there's these really cool riddles, and the nightmare speaks in these kind of riddles. And so there's a lot of really cool like foreshadowing throughout the entire book. And the way that it's written is just like, it just makes me really, really like, oh yes, like this is the kind of stuff that I love. But it may rub some people the wrong way because it is very cryptic, and it is, like I said, there's a lot of riddles in it that some of the characters just speak like that. But I personally really, really love that kind of stuff when it's executed well. And this book is executed well. And the ending of this book, I'm currently reading the second book as we speak because I could not just wait to read the second book. It's really fun. So I think I ended up giving this book 4.5 stars as well, because it's just like so well done, and I love the world building and the magic system, just so good. I just wish that the romance between Elspeth and Raven was better developed, because I could see where the author was going with that and why certain things happened with that romance, but I wish that it was a bit better, because I'm reading the second book right now, Two Twisted Crowns, and the romance between two other characters is really good. Like, they're pining after each other, you see that attraction, they're trying to not be with each other, and then they're like, oh, like it's really well done. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened, maybe because this is like the first book, and I don't know, I've never read any other books from this author, but the romance is the only thing that's not as good in this book, but it is really good in the second book, so I don't know. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit the like button. And if you haven't already, definitely hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notification. That way you get notified anytime a new video comes out. This kind of read and wrap up gives you a good idea of the types of books that I like to read and review. So if you're interested in any of those books, I have videos about every single one of them where I read them in real time and update you with my thoughts as I'm reading the books, as my book reviews. So definitely check those out if you haven't already. And I am also a YouTube partner, yay, which is really cool and something I'm really excited about. So that means that you can become a member of the I'm Talking Waffles channel. And that means you get cool emojis, you get special member privileges, comment reply privileges, could see videos before they're released kind of stuff. There's a bunch of different tiers, so you can choose what makes the most sense for you. All the information for this is in the description, and all the proceeds of becoming a member go towards me getting more books that we can review and talk about on this channel together. So if you're interested in that, all the information is in the description. And with that, I wish you warm wishes and fish kisses. Bye!